So you've spoken with a few lawyers, but how do you know which one is the right fit for you? I'm Melanie van Orde, and today on Legally Speaking, I'm joined by counsel Dawn Quelch to help walk you through choosing a lawyer, the one that's best aligned with your case, your needs, and your communication style. So, Dawn, what are the most important things a person should reflect on after meeting with multiple lawyers?
Well, one of the realities about criminal litigation is that the accused person doesn't get their personal voice heard in the courtroom very often. In fact, not usually until the very end of the process. Finding someone whose voice mirrors yours, someone who you're confident in, who can present your version of events persuasively to a trier of fact is very important. It's not always important that you like your lawyer or that they have a certain image. What can be more important is whether or not you trust them.
How much weight would you say someone should place on a gut feeling or comfort level with a lawyer?
Everybody has different levels of intuition. Obviously, if you walk into an office and it's not the right fit for you and you're not comfortable talking to the person, then that's probably not the lawyer for you. You want someone who's going to listen closely, get your name right, and offer you both reassurance, but also tempering any expectations. Often the role of a lawyer is to be the voice of reason. And there's nothing wrong with manifesting or high hopes or wishful thinking. But if you're making decisions about your future and about legal strategy, you want a lawyer that you're confident is going to be able to tell you the hard truths if that's what your matter requires.
And then how important would you say it is that a lawyer has the specific experience with the type of charge or court that the client is facing?
That can vary. Obviously, experienced counsel can have its benefits, especially if you can afford to pay for a more experienced senior counsel. Rates tend to increase in terms of the years of experience that a lawyer has, the same as it would in any trade or profession. The longer you've been on the job, the better you are at it. Having experience dealing with the exact charge that you're dealing with, I don't think that's as important. We're very blessed here in Ontario. All of our lawyers are very competent. The legal education is quite rigorous, and our governing body, the Law Society of Ontario, makes every lawyer engage with continuing education. Most of us know what we're doing. The more senior your lawyer is, the earlier they are usually called to speak in a remand court, and that can result in some savings if your lawyer's not having to sit and wait for the entire docket to run before they're called to the podium. That can be of assistance. There are some charges, obviously the more serious ones, where there are certain procedural requirements. And so, for example, there's a section in the criminal code, section 469, that lists offenses that must be adjudicated at the bail stage in superior court. If that applies to you, and so these are serious offenses, often murder, terrorism type charges, some serious gun crimes, you're going to want a lawyer who understands that environment and understands how to access and engage with the High Court here in Ontario. The criminal code is the same coast to coast in Canada, as are the rules of criminal procedure. There are always local practice directions and local customs in how lawyers interact. It may be more important to have a lawyer that is local to where you're going to be heard, that is familiar with the local bar and that understands the workings of both the trial coordinator's office, but also the office of the Crown Attorney.
How can you kind of assess whether a lawyer is truly listening to their concerns or just giving them a standard pitch?
One thing is if you're able to ask specific questions. For example, I've told you about my kids and how is this going to impact on my family court litigation? Or how is this going to impact on my ability to go to my daughter's hockey game? Those types of things your lawyer should be ready to kind of engage with you on and should understand. At a first meeting, if they don't get your name exactly right, I wouldn't hold it against them necessarily, but correct them. However, if by the third or fourth time you still seem to be a stranger in their eyes, you may want to look for a firm that has a bit more of a hands-on approach.
And is it appropriate to ask for a follow-up call or clarification before committing to a retainer?
So, Mel, that's a really interesting question. And again, as lawyers are often accused of saying, it depends. Obviously, if something has just occurred to you after leaving a meeting, it is appropriate to call back and seek clarification. It may be that the receptionist simply takes a message and relays something back to you. It may be that you may be asked to either pay for more more of the lawyer's time if it's a substantive question. It depends on what you're asking and why. And so if it's a matter of legal research or something that is very much dependent on what appears in the police disclosure brief, it's not necessarily appropriate. However, the lawyers, again, lawyers are on your team. They're working for you. So even at that early stage, if what you're asking isn't really appropriate, they're going to let you know. And we often expect a certain amount of understanding and give and take with clients at the beginning of a file, that you're new to working with lawyers, unless you've been through the system a number of times. But most people on their first time of facing a criminal allegation, they don't know what they're supposed to do. And we as lawyers are sensitive to that and understanding. We're here to support our clients.
But Dawn, how should fees factor into the decision of a client to decide to retain counsel or not?
That's a very deeply individual question, Mel. It often depends quite a bit on what the allegation is and what the impact on your life would be going forward. Now, in certain circumstances, getting a criminal record might mean losing your job or losing the ability to travel. Certain types of convictions can mean limitations on participating in your kids' sports or even potentially having access visits with your children. So, depending on how high the stakes are for you, that's often a very good guiding line. I do tell clients that, much like buying a house or getting a university education, sometimes going into debt to afford a proper legal defense is the way to go. That's not always a lovely, palatable thing to think about. If the right fit of a lawyer for you is one that is a bit pricier, it can sometimes be worth it. Lawyers offer reassurance, encouragement, and then substantive legal assistance. You need someone who's going to be persuasive, listen to you, and properly present your case. If you find that person and you're able to afford it, or you're able to get some assistance from either a bank or a family member to afford that, I often say that's a very valuable decision. You could be talking about the rest of your life here.
Well, thank you so much, Dawn. And then before we end our very interesting video today, what advice do you have for someone who is still unsure and feels pressure to make a decision quickly?
Well, oftentimes making a decision about retaining counsel quickly is very important to the process. Clients tend to fare better at the bail stage when they're represented by counsel. Our duty counsels in Ontario are great, but there's no continuity. And so every time you go to the courthouse during the bail process, every time your sureties go to the courthouse, you may very well be dealing with a different duty counsel. So if you're able to make that decision and retain counsel, you often will have a bail issue decided sooner. Similarly, if this is a matter that's going to be resolved through negotiation with the Crown Attorney, either for an arranged guilty plea or convincing the Crown to withdraw the allegation, the sooner you have counsel, the sooner you're going to have access to actually having your perspective presented to a Crown Attorney. That's not to say that you should ever feel rushed into making the decision. I do think that there is a place in this process for sort of trusting your gut. If the lawyer seems interested, if they've appeared engaged and interested in what you have to tell them, if the way that they speak to you indicates to you that they share perhaps some of your worldview or perspective, or they're capable of that intellectual flexibility, that's a good indication that you're going to be able to get along and work with this lawyer rather well. As well, the client has the right in Canada to be represented by the counsel of their choice. If partway through the process you discover this isn't the lawyer for you, you do have the ability to move on if it really isn't a good match. So rather than getting stuck in a loop of trying to find the absolutely most perfect lawyer for you, sometimes it's best just to make sure that it's somebody that's going to listen, somebody who's going to understand, and someone that you're confident is going to be able to present your side of things persuasively to a judge or a jury.
Thank you so much, Dawn, for all your advice today. It's been very, very helpful. And for everyone else out there watching today, remember, choosing a lawyer is about trust, experience, and feeling heard. Take the time to ask questions and go with someone who makes you feel confident and supported. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Dawn, for helping us unpack this decision. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you back again next week. Thank you for tuning in to Legally Speaking, proudly brought to you by Aitken Robertson Criminal Defence. We represent clients facing criminal charges all over Ontario, providing you with legal support and dedicated advocacy. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more content, please like and subscribe to our channel. For more information, visit our website. We also offer free books on various types of criminal charges, which you can request on our website or by using the QR codes on your screen now. For legal assistance, call us today or visit our website to request a meeting with one of our experienced lawyers or licensed paralegals. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Legally Speaking.